Hi everyone, and welcome to the new model Barmy Man Cave. So today's excitement is going to be getting this O-16.5 layout ready for a forthcoming exhibition. So the layout itself is complete. My next task is to make another loco and some rolling stock so that I can run that on this layout at the said exhibition. So let's see how we're going to do that. So the first thing I needed to do was to sort out a controller. So I decided that I wanted to make this completely self-contained, so I've used a 9-volt battery inside an old container for business cards. Bought one of the controllers off of Amazon, which I've used before, so they're good for slow running. And I've literally taken a lead off it. Now these connectors here, which are literally 9-volt connectors, I've joined the two together so that ultimately if you did want to disconnect this, which this plug here goes into the layout, you could end up then with just this connector here, and then you could put a similar arrangement straight into a controller if you didn't want to use it on a battery. So that's the controller sorted, so that's easy. So the next thing I needed was to sort out some rolling stock, and specifically a loco. So what I did, I bought this little Hornby OO shunter from Rails of Sheffield, I think, via eBay. Bargain, absolute mint condition, barely looks like it's ever been run, 17.5 quid. So probably more than you pay at a show, but given where we are with the pandemic and no shows, the price of second-hand locos seems to have gone up. But I'm quite happy with paying that sort of money for this. It's a nice little runner. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to convert it into an O-16.5 loco. So I think in order to do that, I'm probably going to chop the top of the cab off and literally use the sides of these water tanks to actually put the sides of the new loco on, new loco body on in plasticard. That, I think this underneath will give it some strength. So I'm going to sort of do this as I go. I've not really got a plan, I've not drawn anything out, so I'm just going to wing it, I think, on this one. To give me an idea of the height of the cab, that is the last O gauge or 1/48 scale figure that I've got in my collection. So he is destined to become a driver, although looking at him, he looks rather casual and probably would be more at home in the window of Burton's menswear. But nevertheless, he will feature as the driver on this loco. Okay, so now I've cut the cab off, got the trusty razor saw out, and I've cut the front of the smoke box off as well, because I want that to be the sort of front. There'll be like a radiator grill type thing, I think, on this, because it's going to be a diesel. I've left this bit intact at the back here because that's where that clips onto the chassis, so I'm going to kind of work around that. So that's the start of my building blocks. So I think the next step is to get the plasticard out and start thinking about cutting some sides out. I'll probably do that first, work out what sides I need, and then I'll go from there. Right, after many scalpel blades and much swearing, I've cut out all the sort of main components of the new body. This is quite thick plasticard, so cutting out the windows accurately was actually quite difficult, but anyway, we're there now. So I will now probably try and think about adding some access panels to the side of this because it looks a bit plain. So I'm going to look to do some detailing. I'll drill the sides of the body out for some handrails. I found some sort of gauze, this mesh, to make a radiator mesh for the front of the loco. So that looks as if it could work quite well. So yeah, getting there. Okay, so now all the components have been glued together to form the body. I've sanded off the joints as well, so a coat of primer will reveal whether I need to do any more filling. I've also added some piano wire handrails to the body. I've got another one to put on the front here, and as you can see, that's my little sort of gauze thing that I bought from Squires, which has sort of gone in there quite well to form the radiator. Don't know what I'm going to do about lights, if any, on this. I'll probably just run with a handrail across the front there. Anyway, so that sits quite neatly on top of what's left of the body, which obviously gives it some structural integrity as well. So you know, that plonks itself quite nicely on top of that. Now the only thing is, having offered this up to the chassis, that sort of clips up underneath there. See where it goes. Difficult to see and film at the same time. Let's do this the other way round. I'll take that off. Let's pop the body on, so it goes like that, and that pushes up, sort of like that. Right, so that's the original body on top of the chassis. So let's plonk that on top. Now, that does look a little bit top heavy now, a bit sort of cartoon like. So what I shall do, I'll create some valances, I think, along here, like I've done with a lot of my other locos that I've modified. So that will probably involve cutting off these steps and then producing some new steps of my own. So that's where we are so far. So I've got some more detail to add. I'll probably put some stuff on top of this bonnet and some access panels in the side of the loco body as well to get access into the engine. So I'll probably do that next. So stay tuned for the next development. So now we've got valances. I've put some steps in with, surprise surprise, Kestrel N-gauge windows. I think the set of Kestrel N-gauge windows that I've got, I've probably used more of them for steps than I have as windows, but they are quite useful, I've got to say. Exhaust pipe, that's a bit of sprue and a lolly stick, which thankfully was the right diameter, just pushed over, drilled out the top. I don't know whether you can see that. Drilled out the top of the sprue, put a horn on there with a wire coming out the back. I've added some lights at the front, which I shall paint in. I've added a light at the back, added some inspection panels for the engine, so they will now get next they'll get some handles. I'll just use some piano wire, bend those up, make 3 handles for each side. I've got to sort out some filler caps for the diesel tank and a roof. But yeah, we're getting there. Quite happy with how this is turning out. With the valances, it just looks a lot better now. It doesn't look so cartoon-like, and it sits on the layout well. In fact, let me just give you a quick look at what that's going to look like. Okay, stand by. Right, you'll have to bear with me now because we're off the tripod. So I've just got to try and keep this as steady as possible, and sorry about the shocking light levels, but this side of the man cave the light is not great, but I think that sits quite well on there. It's about as if I can get back a bit further. So yeah, it's not too bad. There we go. Well, hopefully you'll keep watching and see how this progresses. Right, so I've put a coat of primer on it. I've added, or before I primed it, I added the handles for the hatches, the access hatches into the engine. I've put a couple of filler caps for the diesel tanks. I've added a hatch into the top of the cab roof. Some more detailing on the side of the valances. I've made some sort of bolt heads out of little square section styrene rod, glued those on. So I think that's it as far as construction and fabrication goes now. So I'll obviously put the roof on. So now it's a debate as to what colour I'm going to paint this loco, but it's all rather looking quite good, I think. So yeah, so hopefully in a sec we'll have some colour on it. So as you can see, I've now given it a coat of paint. So I did break out the airbrush for this. So it's had a coat of gunship green. I've also picked out the buffer beams and the buffers themselves. The exhaust has been given a sort of rusty rails colour, so I'll be finishing that up with a bit of dry brushing, I think. But I did use the airbrush to apply some light bits in the larger panels, just to break up the overall green, to sort of mottle the finish bit. I'm going for that kind of faded matte green look, something that hasn't been painted for ages and has lost its sheen. It's gone sort of matte finish, and the sun has bleached it as well. So I'm hoping that I've kind of achieved that with the paint job. So I think the next job's going to be to apply a dirty wash, pin wash to all these bits of detail that I've put on there, just a little bit of an oil wash, and then I might weather in with some oil paints here and there, a little bit of rust as well here and there. So I'm going to apply that, and join me when I've done that. Right, so now I've applied some weathering, just as I said before, pin wash, just to pick out some of the details, and I've added a little bit of rust here and there with some acrylic paints. I didn't break out the oil paints this time. I don't want to overdo the weathering particularly, because this isn't going to see, or wouldn't have seen, mainline service. It's a narrow gauge, and it's running up and down a little brewery line. So I'm quite happy with the effect so far. So next stage is to glaze the cab, and then yeah, excuse the pink glove again, and then I've got to paint Man at C&A as a driver. So that's next. Right, so I've now glazed the cab, and I've added the driver. I've popped the body back on the chassis, so there you can see the original 040 chassis. So the driver's been inserted and painted. I don't know whether you can see, let me see if I can zoom in, because I inadvertently have, there we go, my loco driver is now Ned Flanders from The Simpsons, seemingly. Unintentional, but that's kind of where we've ended up. So anyway, he's happy in there. So the next thing I need to do, I think, is try and sort out the rolling stock for this particular layout, which of course is my hot garden. Let's zoom back again, there we go. So we'll turn our attention to that next. So thanks for sticking with it. Okay, so here's the rolling stock. Quite simply, these were Dapol unpainted, I think they were 5 or 7 plank wagons, which I really just wanted to get the chassis. The cost of rolling stock's gone through the roof at the moment, and I didn't really want to spend a huge amount of money because I was going to always butcher them up. Anyway, they're the cheapest wagons I could find. Nobody's got any chassis only in stock, So I just thought, no, I'll just take the tops off. So I ended up with, as I said, the chassis there, bit of plasticard underneath, then some coffee stirrers glued onto the plasticard, so along the deck, if you like, of the wagon and around the sides. Some plastic angle styrene strip there, just to create these sort of, I suppose, I don't know what you call them really, supports of some kind. Some piano wire bent up to make some hooks to put chains on, and that would just retain the hop sacks while they were being trundled up and down the line. So a little bit of weathering, a bit of oil paint, weathering, and matte varnish. So I built 2 of those, retained the standard tension lock couplers, taken the rearmost one off and just replaced that with a piece of chain, so at least it looks sort of half decent from the back. And there we go. So I didn't really video the construction process because there's not a lot to it really, not particularly interesting. It's probably more about the end result on these. So let's have a look at it on the layout. So here we are with the wagon sitting on the layout. So we'll just reverse the shunter back to pick up the wagons. There we go. And as Bob Mortimer and Paul Whitehouse would say, and away. At lightning speed, because it is after all the pocket rocket, and these things don't really crawl, so I need to look at that. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that little build. I certainly did. This layout, the Hop Garden, will be getting a run out at the first post-pandemic exhibition that I will have attended, and that's my local club, Bognor Regis Model Railway Club. So any of you guys that are down south, please come along, be really nice to meet you. I'll be showing this together with my Brookingvale coaling stage, the Kodak weapons line, the Lathwaites wine box, the railway in a tank bag, and the Buttermilk River sponge mine. So that's my 009 layout in a cake. So I'm taking about 5 layouts there, so there'll be plenty to see. But anyway, in the meantime, thanks for watching. Thanks to all my subscribers, and if you're new to the channel, then please like and subscribe, and I'll look forward to catching you all on the next project. So take care, see you soon, bye.